Hey, 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 welcome to another Valley Forged. I've got a great one today. I just, mad scientist thing, just came up with this new card wallet design, and I really like it. In fact, I like it so much, I don't actually have any here, even though I've made a bunch of them. They're all actually in a store already because I brought it to the store and they loved them and they put them out right away. So we'll see what will happen, but I think you guys are going to really like this. It's so customizable, and you could do so many things with this. It's just cool. So this is a leather card holder, but it can be a wood and leather card holder. Something you're not going to see very often, and it really lends itself to laser engravers. So if you love lasers like I do, not just leather, but all kinds of different ways to use lasers, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Why leather with lasers? It's like they work hand in hand, right? I mean, there are a lot of wood projects that you can't do with a 10-watt laser, but with leather, 10-watt laser, just fine for what we're working with. I ended up just using the 70-watt, which worked fine. It's a little way overkill. But it did a great job. So, anywhere between 10 watts and 70 watts or even 100 watts at a CO2 is just fine. X tools, glow forges, whatever you got is likely going to do just fine. Even a 5-watt laser. Settings are everything. So if you're experienced in lasers, settings are everything. If you're not, take your time. Make sure you know your settings. Do your practice. There are many videos out there on how to get your settings right for different materials. Super important when it comes to leather because it's so expensive, and you want to make sure you do it correctly the first time. And that's really what you need to know how to do to be able to make this wallet is just settings. It should download into Lightburn just great. If you have a X tool or something, use the SVG, the Glowforge. And then you just get your settings and you should be able to make one of these. Now, I get my leather from Buckle Guy or Rocky Mountain Leather or Tandy. I'm using 3-ounce or so leather with this. So around 1.5 to 2 millimeters is great. You shouldn't have any issues. That's veg tan leather. A lot of you out there, you're going to use this leather you get from, the craft store or something, and it's going to say all natural. And then you go to cut it, and you could do it. It'll work just fine. Make sure you have good ventilation, but you're going to get some pretty charred edges, and no matter what settings you use, it's probably not going to look that much better. So try using air, trying not using air. Eventually, you'll just do the best you can. Have I made wallets with that and they look great? Yes. Takes a little bit of extra effort to, get those, get maybe some of that soot out of the holes or off the edges or whatnot. But once you get your settings right for using, say, like I'm using Italian leather for this, should look brilliant. So the next thing you're going to have to do, if you haven't already, is go get the file. Link in the description, and I will show you just how many ways that you can make this. Now, it's a very, very simple file. When you download it, you're going to be like, wow, that is so simple, but yet so versatile. I mean, take a look at this thing. You can put your logo here, of course, so just change that to whatever it is you want to. I have put these all on different layers so that you could change, print one out at a time or two at a time, whatever you want to. If you were to just print out 2 of these, and it just depends on how you want to make it, right? If you print out 2 of these, there will be your center. You just go back to back. And then you can have one pocket in the back. You can have 2 in the back and one in the front. Whatever you want to do. It's kind of up to you how many pockets you want to have with this. But I would just say, if you are going to make it out of leather, make 2 of these so you can sandwich those and have the rough part of the leather in the middle. And this is ideally probably where you would put like cash or whatever. And then you've got side pockets here for, here, let's say here. So on this very front one that you see, now that's 2 pieces sandwiched like I just showed you. Actually, all of these first 2 are. They're all leather. And then I put the big and the small pocket on the outside. And on the flip side, I just have the big pocket. But you can do it any way you want. And then, of course, there is the wood. And that's where it makes it a little bit different. That also allows you to just take that piece of wood, cut out one of them, which be one of these bottom ones, and you can put any design on it you want. And that's another thing that makes it interesting, right? Like here, you see in the back, this is just a crazy design. And then I cut out one of each of the other things in leather, and then I just stuck all of these onto one side. So it gave me 3 pockets, but on the other side. And then you've kind of got what would look like one side of a Ridge wallet that was made out of wood, right? And then you've got the other side where everything sits. It's kind of fun. It's different. And I hadn't seen another one like it. So again, it's very simple, yet very versatile. So I'm going to go through step by step on putting this together. But before I do that, I want to say that's not it when it comes to versatility. There's so much more that you can do with this once you get to know your leather. And some of you out there already are at that advanced stage. Once you make a couple of these, you can go in and just, change how your pockets look. And as long as you're not changing any of the holes or where the hole placements are, you can kind of design your own pockets. So I'm not going to go too far into that in this particular video because I want to make it simple for everybody. But you don't have to stick with these designs. It's just the basic idea. The holes will line up on either side no matter which way you do it. So that's going to remain the constant. So don't change the holes unless you really know what you're doing. Because if you change the hole on one, you'll have to change them on all of them. But it is okay to delete holes. So say you wanted to bring this pocket down a little bit, you would be just fine to delete these holes. Just make sure that you ungroup them first. And, experiment, have fun. And that's going to be the first thing that I say is prototype. So you don't need to make this out of leather first. Now, of course, to get your settings, you're going to have to use your leather. But I often make prototypes, and hopefully I can bring one up, out of craft foam. So I'll take a piece of, cheap wood and cut that out just like it shows here. And we'll cut a couple of pieces of foam out and kind of just get an idea of what you want before you cut the final foam, the final product. I'm just using craft foam that you get from your local craft store. I have a Michael's around here. I grabbed that. So just as long as you have good ventilation, seems to work great. I haven't had any trouble with it. Use pretty high settings because it cuts really easily. And you can put it together. You could, in fact, glue the whole thing together. It will work like it will when you're finished. If you just glue it like you would if you were sewing it, I've used some of these for days and they still work well, just in craft foam. So you get a real good idea of what you're going to get in the final product. So that's the first thing that I would do is I would make a prototype. Of course, I made a prototype to make this file and it worked great. So then I, kept going. So the second thing is make sure you test on your actual leather and actual wood so that it's going to cut out perfectly with the least amount of soot or smoke, whether that's using air, not air, settings, that I can't help you with. Everybody's laser is different. Everybody's leather is different. Everybody's thickness of leather is different. So there's no way for me to do the settings. You have to do that. So I'm not going to beat that to death. You should know by now with the lasers, that's on you. So cut it out. However many of these things you're going to do, whether you're going to use wood or leather, I would probably start with leather first. Just, make sure you like it. The first thing that I do, and I've learned this from a long time of making leather stuff, first you're going to do is you're going to use a cleaner. And I'll bring up a picture here. This is just some old cleaner that I had in the garage from, my parents, and it still works great. And the first thing I do is I use this to clean off and protect it. So I'm cleaning off all of the scorch marks. Works wonderful. Clean off the edges. Just make sure you don't have anything. Make sure your hands are clean. I don't use gloves, but maybe that'll be helpful for you. Everybody has their own way, because it sucks to ruin leather. And if you're using just regular plain leather that hasn't been dyed, you really, really, really have to be careful, because it's so easy. Just a drop of regular water can leave a stain, right? So yeah, be careful, clean and protect. And to really help it, what I do is I also use this leather wax milk over it. And that really, really, really helps. It really keeps the dirt off and will get you through the process. So that's the first thing I do. Cut it out, clean it, protect it. And then you have to remember that you probably will not be able to do these tops, see the top of the pocket. Once you glue them together, how are you going to, if you want to add some sort of color, like I use this fabric marker on my edges. I've just found it to work really well. I learned this from other leather making videos. It works great, but there's dyes, there's different things you could use on your edges of your leather to make them look nice. And then to burnish them. Well, you're not going to be able to do that after you glue it together. So anything that's going to be on your tops of your pockets, go ahead and marker those or cover those now, and then go ahead and burnish them. Now, I'm not going to teach you how to burnish or sew or anything like that in this video. There's plenty of videos out there. I'll try and link some below to teach you how to do the leather and how to do the sewing, etc. But I will tell you what you need to do and the tools that I use. So I went ahead and I markered and burnished the tops of my pockets. And then I set it back out in the order that I was going to do it. And now you need to scuff up any of the area that is not already rough. Like, say, the backside of the leather, if you're gluing two backsides of the leather together, you don't need to scuff that up because it's already rough, right? But if you've got a clean part of the leather, as I'm showing in this picture here, that's going to glue to another, even a backside, you want to scuff that part up so it gives it a real good bond. And this happens to be a leather scuffer, which is the dumbest tool to buy ever, but I had it. You could use a butter knife or something like that. Anything to rough it up so that it's not super smooth. And this is going to be along where any of the sew lines. Before we sew it together, we're going to glue those edges together. Now, make sure you don't go too far. This is why you want to put the pockets on top of each other and mark it and make sure that you're not scuffing where there's not going to be a pocket. So you can see here on your upper left-hand corner, there's an area here where this pocket over here is going to go on. It's not going to cover the whole thing. So if I was to scuff up this area, it's going to be showing, which would be terrible. So just be careful. I have absolutely done that before. It's a terrible feeling. So don't do it. Be very careful. and kind of put the wallet together before you do any of the scuffing, before you do any of the gluing, and make sure you have it correct and you do it in the right order. I'm sorry for you pros out there, but I'm trying to make this video for everybody. And then along this line, you'll see exactly what you need. So I had mentioned burnishing the tops. I had told you about the marker, but you will also need, one of these, which is for burnishing. And some of this, what's called burnishing gum, toconol. It's possible to use water. Of course, you can watch other videos and see what it is that the best makes the edges that you want. But, all said, just scuff it where it needs to be scuffed and then glue it together. Now for glue, I use Aqualim 315. It's water-based. It just doesn't have a stench to it. A lot of people use Barge. I can't stand the stuff. And Aqualim 315 has worked perfect for me. I used it on my own personal wallet that I've still been using for years, and it's been great. So this is wonderful. I highly recommend it. And I use a foam brush, and I just put that on there. Now, in many videos that you see on making wallets, you're going to see edge beveling. I don't do that. I think I use a thin enough leather to where it's really not necessary, but it could also be detrimental. And it's up to you. Learn your craft. But I think as long as you're using a 1.5 to 2 ounce leather to make these, you don't necessarily need to do that. If you're using a thicker leather, that's something you might want to look into. So once you have glued it together, make sure it's compressed. I wouldn't use a vise or anything, but you can use a hammer and knock it down just to make sure that it's as glued together as possible. And there are many techniques for that. I'll let you look into all of that. But it's generally not that difficult. Next thing that I do is, of course, you wait for that to dry, and then you sew it together. I use Ritza Tiger thread, and I think it is by far the best. I get mine from Buckle Guy, but you can get this from Amazon in smaller amounts where it's not so expensive, because believe me, if you buy it in the spools, it's pretty expensive, or it can be. So 0.8 is what I'm using here. You can use 0.6 if you want more of a feminine look. I would probably, but I think for this particular project, the 0.8, it looks about right. You may be tempted to use like a regular thread. I really wouldn't recommend it. I have tried to do that just because there were some colors that I really wanted to use. It's never worked out great. So you want to get a thread that's made for leather, preferably a waxed thread like the Ritza Tiger thread. It's going to last forever. It's going to work really well. Just do it. Again, you're talking about doing a saddle stitch. I use a stitching pony. There are many, many methods out there. I'll leave something in the description. And then once you're done with that, then you're going to want to finish your edges. So I use the fabric marker here and then the burnisher, and I burnish my edges after that. And then you're pretty much done, other than you want to clean that thread, because it's probably going to have a little bit of smoke marks in it after you're done. And it would be nice to take that original cleaner and clean the threads and just clean everything off again. And then once it's dry, put it in something safe. Keep it safe. Keep it from getting messed up. You could put some cards or whatever in the pockets now to make sure everything's working right. Now, I have 6 of these already. And I just came up with the pattern, and they all turned out great. They're working fine. Like I said, I already put them in the store. So I'm pretty happy with this. And a lot of you out there already have my my wallet patterns, and I think they've done super, super well. Sold hundreds of them, and everybody seems to love them. I think this is going to be another one. and it just has so much versatility. And I love using wood and leather together. I'm trying to come out with the new leather wood purse versions, and I kind of thought, you know what? It'd be nice to just do this in a wallet first, and it allows me a lot more flexibility to be able to just have some fun and not worry about wasting too much money. If you have any problems with the file itself, then please just send me a message on Etsy and let me know so I can fix it there. If you have any problems making it, or settings or other things like that that you want to talk about, then leave a comment here down below so everybody can see the comment, and maybe we could all learn from it and hopefully do this thing better. But I think you're really going to like it. So I'm sure there's a ton I've left out. I will try to add a top comment and add anything else I need to do. Hopefully you can look and find some other resources in the description to get better. We're all just trying to get better. I am not the perfect woodworker or the perfect leather maker, but it's all a process, and I'm just loving the hell out of it. So again, I hope you love it, and I will see you in the next one. Love y'all.